Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Fountain Pen Showdown Day. Going to take a look at two Chinese pens, the Kaigelu 316 and the HongDian 1841. Two very different looking pens. Be interesting to see how they compare against each other. So join me now down on the table. We'll take a look at the pens. We'll do a quick walk through the bodies, do some size comparisons, weights and measures, a writing sample, then I'll give you my thoughts and some scores for these pens. Welcome down to the mat. So here we've got today's pens. The Kaigelu 316, this is in the yellow colour, and the HongDian 1841 in this beautiful red colour. Really like this. Well, I like them both, but I like the colour of this. I like this red, which is unusual because I don't often get a lot of red pens. Let's start by taking a walk through the bodies. This isn't going to be a detailed walkthrough of each pen. I'm just going to really talk about the differences and the similarities. First big difference, you can see it. Look, can't you? It's the shape. So we've got these more flat ends on the Kaigelu. We've got the more curved torpedo type shape there with the HongDian. The Kaigelu looks a little bit on the thicker side than the HongDian. I do like on the Kaigelu at the top the logo. So that's a kangaroo. So although it's made in China, living in Australia, it's nice to see the kangaroos. So let's take the caps off. So we go half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, nearly 3 turns to take the cap off that Kaigelu. With the HongDian, half, 1, 1.5, 2, about 2.25 turns there with the HongDian, so slightly better. I'll pop these next to each other for the second. We're going to take a look inside the bodies. Both of these are cartridge converters. So here's the Kaigelu. Metal fittings. Let's pop that back on. I do like this yellow colour. It's really nice. Again, reminds me a bit of Australia with the aloe vera plants. And with HongDian, again, cartridge converter. This time what we've got here at the bottom of this metal is we've got a little O-ring to help with the seals. Pop them next to each other again. The nibs, both number 6 size nibs. Starting with the Kaigelu. So here we've got primarily the steel coloured. It is a steel nib. We've got a gold coloured border. Then we go back to that steel colouring. We've got that gorgeous kangaroo logo there, picked out the gold colouring. Below that we've got Kaigelu. Below that we've got M for medium. This is a medium nib. With the HongDian, again steel nib. Primarily a gold coloured nib though this time. We've got that silver, that steel coloured border. Then we've got 1907. We've got the HongDian logo. And then we've got some details about the company that makes it. Very simple nibs. Both number 6 size nibs. I haven't tried swapping the nibs. I would think it'd be easy, but I haven't tried it, so I can't comment too much. Let's swap on over and do some size comparisons. Starting off with my two standard size comparisons, Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari. I've got to be honest, to me, all 4 pens are virtually identical in length. Where we've got the difference is the Kaigelu, that's slightly wider, maybe the same width as the Safari. The HongDian, I do think it is a bit wider than what we see here with the Metropolitan. Let's take the caps off. With the caps off, the HongDian is the smallest of the 4, a little bit smaller than what we see with the Pilot Metropolitan. The 316, bigger than the Metropolitan, but a little bit shorter, maybe just 3 or 4 millimeters than what we see with the Safari. Biggest difference is the nibs. Today's pens, as I've already said, number 6 nibs. We've got the Pilot number 5 here on the Metropolitan, and here we've got that Lamy Safari nib. Let's swap on over and fetch in some pens in roughly the same price range. The pens I brought in. The Mastodon T5, 27 Aussie dollars. The Kaigelu 316, 28 Aussie dollars. The HongDian 1841, 40 Aussie dollars. And we've got the Canwright Heritage Green Swirl, which is 41 Aussie dollars. Both the T5 and the Canwrite, they're both piston fillers, whereas the other two pens, they're cartridge converters. In the hand, the HongDian, really, really nice. I quite enjoy this. I think it fits really well in the hand. Sort of posts, but only just. We're going down to about there on this cap. That cap is actually quite loose as well. But yeah, I think it's quite a nice fit. With the HongDian, again, it's a nice fit. Feels a bit thinner. The section on the Kaigelu was that little bit wider, which does, to me, make a difference. But still, it's not uncomfortable. This one, though, posts a lot better. To me, feels back heavy, but virtually every pen I post feels back heavy. But I'd be quite happy to use this posted. Although, again, I'm quite happy using it unposted. Let's just pop the caps on these. With the caps on, the T5, the longer of the pens, the other three pens, they look very similar. Let's swap on over and we'll fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. We're going to start with the 316. So the full length of the pen with the cap on, 13.7 centimetres. Unposted, if I can get it to not roll away from me, about 12.7 centimetres. As I say, it does sort of post not very well, but if you wanted to post it, you're looking at 17.7 centimetres. And as I say, when I was doing that, that does loosen this. Width of the body is 1.3 centimetres. The cap, 1.46 centimetres. The section goes from 1 up to 1.13. Fairly nice, comfortable section there. With the HongDian, the full pen, 13.8 centimetres. As we saw, very similar in length. Unposted, again, if I can stop it from rolling, is about 12.2 centimetres. Helps if I get that nib lined up. 12.2 centimetres. Posted, that comes in at 15.7 centimetres. Width of the body, 1.2 centimetres. So that is, I'd say, slightly less. 1.4 centimetres for the cap. And the section going from 0.97 up to 1.06 centimetres. So definitely that little bit smaller. Let's swap over, fetch in the scales of weighing. Here we've got the scales of weighing. We start with the Kaigelu again. So full pen, 41 grams. Body alone, 26 grams. And the cap, 16, maybe 15 grams. With the HongDian, 24 grams. So the full HongDian weighs the same as the body alone of the Kaigelu. The pen, 15 grams. And 9 grams there for the cap. It is a lighter pen, you do feel that when you're writing. Let's get this out of the way and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. Would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is Oxford Optic paper, 90 GSM paper. I really like this paper. We're going to start then with the Kaigelu 316. So we've got a Kaigelu 316. Be careful if you're looking at these. This is the 316. There is also a 316A, which is very similar, but also slightly different. We have a medium nib on here. The cost for this pen, 28 Aussie dollars. The ink, it's by Diamine. And it's Alpine, one of the Inkvent inks. Nice green ink here. Drying times, so we go immediate, 10 seconds. Still fairly wet there, isn't it? 30 seconds. I'm going to go onto the line below. 1 minute. Still fairly wet there. Let's do a 2-minute test. After 2 minutes there, that's now nice and dry. Is there any line variation? Here's no pressure. Here's with some pressure. Definitely seeing line variation there. I was pushing this nib a bit, so just be careful. You could end up damaging the nib. No pressure with, none, and with. Let's move the mic down to the page and write a sentence. I love writing with this pen. It's got a nice little bit of feedback to it. Not a lot. It's not a glassy, it's not a smooth nib. There's a lovely tactileness to it. Final test, flow test. So that's going forwards. That's going backwards. Gorgeous pen to write with. Really is nice. I enjoy using this pen. I enjoy using this pen with this ink. I think it's quite a nice combo. Yes, you might say it's a bit dark, but I just think it contrasts really well. So that's the Kaigelu 316. Next up, we've got the HongDian. So we've got here a HongDian. A little bit of an issue there. I have had this cap on and off a lot, so I'm going to excuse that. 18. Oh, still got an issue. So this is the 1841. The nib is a fine nib this time. Price-wise, 40 Aussie dollars. Another little bit of an issue there. The ink is by Diamine. And it's Red Robin. Doesn't seem to like writing today, does it? Drying times. Immediate. Going to do that again. That was rubbish. Let's try again. Immediate. 10 seconds. Going to go down onto the other line. 30 seconds. One minute. Still smudging there. Let's do that 2-minute test again. After 2 minutes, wow, that's still very wet, isn't it? Let's look at our line variation. So here's no pressure. Here's with some pressure. With this one, not seeing that much of a difference. So none with, none with, none and with. Really struggling today. I'm going to move the mic down to the page and write a sentence. And my flow test. And going backwards. Now the issue I'm getting with this today, I'm putting down to the paper. I've got here, this is my notepad that I use for making my jotting down my notes on my desk. I've had no issues with this when I've just tried to scribble it off. So I think the issue is something to do with the paper and this pen. Maybe they don't like each other. You do get that occasionally. But this is a nice ink, a nice red ink in this pen. Again, I think that's a good colour match. I like the way we're writing here, where we got the sentence. We're seeing little bits of shading coming through. Quite pretty. So what are my thoughts and my scores for these pens? Let's start with pen looks. I love the way the 316 looks. I love this pattern, like this like cracked ice with this beautiful aloe colour. It's even slightly translucent in places. Really pretty, really catches the eye. I actually like the way we've got the black ends, which really offset that colour. Looks very nice. 9 out of 10 for that. The HongDian. It's nice looking. It's classic looking, isn't it? But it doesn't jump out at you like the Kaigelu does. It's pleasant to look at. 8 out of 10. Build quality. No issues with either of these pens. I've got a number of these 1841s, had no issues with any of them. This is the only 316. I also have a 316A. Again, no problems with either of them. I've had this 316 about 2, maybe 2.5 years. No problems. It's been inked up loads of times. Writes really well all the time. Going to give them both an 8 out of 10. For writing experience, I love the line we get. I think this is a nice, generous line here, this medium line. I actually like the way that ink looks with it as well. Slight bit of feedback, not a lot, but it's there, it's pleasant, it's enjoyable to write with. With the HongDian, we had some issues on this paper. In all the other writing I've done, I've never had that happen, so I was a bit surprised with that today. So I'm going to give the marks based on my previous testing, not on what we've just seen. I'm going to give both of these an 8 out of 10. Ink flow, very generous nib here on the Kaigelu. As I say, to me, it's more on the broad side than the medium. Very nice. As you can see, fairly wet. So if you're going to be taking notes, you need to think about that, because if you're going to be taking multiple notes where you're turning the page quickly, you might have some issues. But still, it's nice, it's enjoyable. With the 1841, exceptionally wet, and I'm surprised at that with it being a fine nib. Very wet pen. Really nice, though, puts down a nice line. It's a definite fine line. With the nib being a number 6, I'm wondering if I could change that. You know, my preference is for broad nibs. I haven't tried it yet. I may try it at some time in the future. Maybe put a Yoho nib on there. I've also got a bottle nib as well, so I may try that at some time. But for ink flow, both of them 8 out of 10. Comfort, they're both quite nice. I do like the wider section here on the 316. Very comfortable to use, nice length, can write for ages with this pen. With the HongDian, section's a little bit narrower, but not too narrow. It's just about right. It's just in that sweet spot still. So it's really comfortable. Lengthwise, again, really comfortable. And being a little bit lighter also helps. So for comfort, I'm going to give them both 8 out of 10 as well. Now the fun one, value for money. With value for money, I don't really compare them against each other. I compare them with other pens in that sort of price range and that sort of class. So with the Kaigelu 316, $28 is fairly reasonable. I can pick up a Jinhao 100 Centennial for about $20. And it's the same shape, it's the same size, it's virtually the same weight. Yes, it's a different nib, but it's number 6 nib. I've got loads of Jinhao 100s because I just think they're better value than this. I'm not saying this is bad value, it isn't. In and of itself, it's worth the $28. But there are some cheaper, virtually identical alternatives. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. With the HongDian, it's nice looking, isn't it? It performs well apart from today. It's got a lightness to it. It's got a really nice feedback to it. It's enjoyable to write with. I think $40, again, when I'm comparing it to other pens that look similar, other pens in the same price range, I think this isn't bad. I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. So that means the total score for the Kaigelu 316 with Diamine Alpine is 8 out of 10. And for the HongDian 1841 with Diamine Red Robin is also 8 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Have you got either of these pens? What do you think of them? Have you tried comparing them against each other? I'd be really interested to know what other people think of these pens. Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart that conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.